So lovely to meet you guys, and thanks so much for such a funny film, because boy do we need a laugh at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, we do. We certainly do.
It's not often that you come across a father and son combo making a film. Is this the first time that you've worked together?
We did. Preston's first script was called Kids in Love, which he wrote with a friend of his called Sebastian De Souza, and I, which was a low-budget movie we made about 3 years ago, and that starred Cara Delevingne and Will Poulter, and I produced that. But this is the first time we passed that test, so we thought we could take it one step further and become director and writer.
So why did you decide to collaborate on this particular project, Preston?
Well, we didn't decide, really. He kind of forced me into it.
No. Wow, that sounds a bit dramatic.
No, I'm kidding. I came up with this idea for Pixie, and I actually pitched it to Dad, and he didn't like my pitch very much. I mean, and anyway, I didn't have anything else to write, so I went away and wrote it, and I gave it to him like I give all my scripts for feedback and notes. And he came back and he said, "I'd like to direct this." So, which was, obviously incredibly humbling for me. And, I pretended to, have to go out and make a decision for about 5 minutes, then came back, and it's been a joy ever since.
Barnaby, he is telling me the truth, isn't he?
No, he is telling the truth. We had some time to go. So he and I went on a road trip to the west of Ireland, where I'd made some documentaries early in my career. And we went on this road trip, had a lovely time, didn't talk. There was no talk of any kind of film. And then a bit later on, he pitched me this idea, and I was definitely lukewarm on it. And so I read the script very much as, in my role as friend. But the truth is, since the St. Trinian films, I've been looking for something to direct that was comedic, that had style, that was playing with the genre. And as I was reading this thing, I was going, holy shit, maybe this is the one. So then I had to start being really nice to him.
So when you're working together, how similar are your working styles, or are they completely different?
Well, I guess there's 2 different categories. I mean, it's very nice just having a relationship where you get to be just totally honest with each other about how you feel. And but we definitely had conversations, and I think from making the first one together, your work relationship is different from your father or son or kind of friendship, as it were. So you do have to clearly define boundaries and talk about that. But he was very, it was just such a joy to do it together and watch it. I know he's wanted to direct a film on his own for so long, and so it was such I was proud of him, and watching him do it was amazing. And I think on some level he was probably proud of me, and it was just such a wonderful, wonderful experience getting to do it together.
So do either of you get involved in what the other is doing? I mean, Barnaby, did you contribute to the script in any way, or did Preston come behind the camera and work with you or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it was a very close collaboration. Preston would write the script, and I would, and I think that he has a great ear for dialogue, and he has 100 great ideas. And in a way, my job during the script process was almost sometimes peeling things back and saying, yeah, this is great, but it doesn't really, it was like, editing it a bit, just to keep the story flowing. And then similarly, Preston was on set every day. And for me to know I had this other set of eyes there, and he would, if he thought something wasn't quite right, he would come and whisper in my ear. And so I think it was because we both obviously are close, and therefore, we got each other's back. It allows you to be more frank, and also because filmmaking or writing and directing are both lonely businesses. So to actually do it with a real partner really lightens the load.
I hope you won't mind me saying this, but I've actually given the film an alternative title, which is Once Upon a Time in Craggy Island. Because it really put me in mind of Father Ted. Did you get any inspiration from that wonderful series?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen much Father Ted. Have you seen much Father Ted, Preston?
I remember loving Father Ted. I'll shout out one of my school friends, a guy called James Byfield, who was one of my best friends when I was 8 or 9 or 10, 8, 9, 10. That kind of age used to come into class with all these kind of incredible swear words from, insults from Father Ted. So I did watch a bit of Father Ted, but it was, I mean, I guess once the priests came in, the comparison became kind of more obvious, but I didn't revisit Father Ted doing it, because that would have been problematic. I probably would have just stolen all the best lines.
So you wouldn't call yourself a Ted head then? Obviously not.
Not quite a Ted head, but
So apart from your trip to Ireland, where did you get your inspiration from? I mean, the film's absolutely full of references to other movies like spaghetti westerns, for example. But what else?
Do you want to do this one, Barnaby, or do you want?
Well, for me, I love westerns. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid is probably my favorite film. So, and the fact that Press had written the story with two men and a girl that they're kind of fighting about. Yeah. So that was I think one of the things that really struck a chord. There's all those great Irish movies by the McDonough brothers. There's obviously there's a little bit of Alfonso Cuarón in there with Y Tu Mama Tambien.
There's that film Something Wild by Jonathan Demme from Something Wild that I just am obsessed with, and that for me definitely during the writing of it was definitely, I thought about that a lot, and the music they use in that, and the chemistry between the Melanie Griffiths and Jeff Daniels characters was something I kind of wanted to. It was definitely an inspiration for the kind of dynamic between Pixie and the two boys.
So who had the genius idea of casting Alec Baldwin as the pistol-packing priest then?
Well,
who claims the credit?
Well, I would say he could claim the credit, because we saw we know him, so we saw him at a party and he was asking what we were up to, and Preston told him the story, and he said, "Well, is there a part for me?" And we said, "Well, you could play deadly gangster priest," and he was like, "I'm in." And from that moment on, he was, he was a great support and really helped get the movie made, because, he stuck by it, and what's so great is that part needs to be someone that, because he's sort of the big baddie, but he doesn't spend that much time on screen. You just, from the moment you see him, good and bad things are going to happen, and he did it brilliantly.
So he didn't take any persuading at all then?
No, I mean it was amazing, wasn't it? He went.
Yeah, I mean, he said, yeah. When I said deadly gangster, I said drug dealing Irish priest, and he went, yes, that sounds great. And yeah, he stayed in it because that was about 18 months or 2 years even before we started filming. So for him to stick with us and then show up in Ireland was pretty amazing. I mean, just to hear Alec Baldwin say one line of your dialogue is enough to die happy as a writer. So it was.
You're sorted.
And also in a funny sort of way, he kind of, he defines the tone that we were looking for, because he's a great actor, but is also very funny. And I think that somehow having him there from the beginning helped everyone understand what we were doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And obviously people like Colm Meaney and, the rest of them was not too shabby either, but it was, Alec was a big boon.
It's a bit of a star turn. Guys, thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is up, because I would have loved to talk to you more, but thank you so much for your time and indeed for such a fun film. Thank you very much indeed.